What's up, everybody? This is Chris Surratt bringing you another edition of the Car Concierge Show, the show that helps the buying, selling, maintaining, and repairing of your vehicle. On today's show, we're going to talk a little bit about a new recall out by Ford that is concerning batteries in, of course, some EV vehicles. After that, we're going to head over to Michigan and check out Michigan and Ohio, and check out some more GM layoffs as the layoff festivities continue. And last but not least, we're going to check out a gentleman who decided that he was going to leave his 2-year-old daughter in a burning car after a drunken car accident, and he is going to get the retribution that he deserves. All right, let's jump straight into it. So, of course, we're going to bring you this latest recall watch, and the latest recall watch is Ford. Another American automaker has another recall out. Are we surprised? Not really. Because recalls have been coming heavy and fast lately. And we just got to keep monitoring them, because we got to make sure that you understand if your vehicle has a recall that could hurt you. Let's check it out.
Ford is recalling more than 270,000 vehicles due to potential battery problems. The recall includes certain Ford Bronco Sport SUVs made between 2021 and 23 and Ford Maverick trucks from 2022 and 2023. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says the 12-volt batteries could have internal issues causing vehicles to fail to start, stall while slowing to a stop, or to lose power to accessories like hazard lights. There are no reports of fires or accidents. Affected owners will be notified by mail. Ford will replace the batteries free of charge.
So, just your basic battery recall, not a major recall, not that something that we should really jump all over and be upset about. It's crazy that they're establishing that these vehicles are 2021s or 2023s, and now they're saying batteries are having these problems, whereas, battery's standard lifespan is only 3 years, 36 months. That's the standard battery warranty lifespan. So the fact that they're pretty much finding out these batteries having problems at pretty much towards the end of the life of the battery tells you that, it's one of those things that is pretty much caused by degradation. It's one of those things that's caused by the battery getting excessive use over a certain amount of time, and then establishing that the battery has this issue, which tells us once again that if you're not doing the correct research and development when it comes to these products and these parts in these vehicles, then things like this are going to happen. And we're not doing, research and development that lasts over any course of over 12 months, let alone 3 years. There is no situation nowadays that these, testing of these vehicles and testing of these parts lasts an extensive period of time. It's short-lived. In most cases, under 6 months, they test these things out. They never do elongated tests on these things, so you really establish if these things are going to stand the test of time. So, just a regular battery recall, nothing major, and nothing we should jump all over about, because standardly, what you going to do? If your battery starts to degrade or you start having problems with your battery, you're just going to replace it. Batteries ain't super expensive. And then, these are 2021s to 2023, so we can definitely understand that there's aftermarket batteries that are available for these vehicles. So, just replace it with an aftermarket battery, you'll be fine.
General Motors announced it's laying.
Next up, we're going to check out a story about some more layoffs. And you know how I feel about these layoffs, and these are layoffs in the automotive industry. Once again, GM. Once again, in Michigan and Ohio, the Midwest, where I grew and learned and loved. And it's heartbreaking to understand that people in the Midwest, hardworking people in the Midwest, are just continuing to lose job after job when it comes to these factories and these plants, and it's all because of the exportation of the work, the desire to save money when it comes to building these products, so you ship it over to Mexico or something like that. It's literally destroyed the automotive industry. But let's check out the story about the latest layoffs, and then we'll keep it moving.
off more than 3,400 workers across the country, including many here in Detroit. CBS News Detroit's Gina Vici joins us outside Factory Zero in Hamtramck with more on what's behind the layoffs.
Yeah, automotive experts say there are a few things at play here, leading to more than 3,000 layoffs across General Motors, including 1,200 here at Factory Zero, and that includes lower EV demand. Those buying incentives for EVs, those are going away, as well as the higher cost due to tariffs.
This is a substantial cutback, and I expect to see more of it around the country.
Auto expert Paul Eisenstein is reacting to news that General Motors is laying off 3,400 workers, including 1,200 here at Factory Zero, and says it's all due to a slow EV market.
The market is still there. It's just not anywhere near as strong as it would have been if incentives had remained.
In light of the layoffs and the reason for the job cuts, General Motors released this statement that reads in part, quote, "In response to slower near-term EV adoption and an evolving regulatory environment, General Motors is realigning EV capacity. GM remains committed to our U.S. manufacturing footprint, and we believe our investments and dedication to flexible operations will make GM more resilient and capable of leading through change." Again, moving forward, Eisenstein says the other automakers will likely be impacted in the same way.
EVs aren't going away, but we're certainly going to see lower demand than everybody had expected. The real question is just how much of a downturn we'll see in EVs, and in turn, what the industry will have to do. So we could see still more layoffs coming at other automakers over the next few months.
In Detroit, Gino Vici, CBS News, Detroit.
Yeah, I mean, it's this whole EV situation is just it's destroying the U.S. automaker, and I tell you why. It's because a lot of the EVs that I see driving around is more foreign EVs. The Hyundais, the Kias, I see a lot of Toyota EVs out there, but I don't see a lot of U.S. automaker EVs out there. They're just not selling like the hotcakes that they usually would sell. And of course, they're being competed with the, specifically the Hyundais and Kias. I'm going to talk specifically about Hyundai and Kia for right now, because I'm seeing so many Hyundai, EVs, Ioniq series, so many Kias nowadays, specifically coming to my collision center getting repaired. And it just tells me that the EV market is just, it's there, but it's just only for certain EVs. I mean, and the problem is that the U.S. automakers, most of the U.S. automakers just took the whole idea that EVs would take over the world and ran with it, and it was a mistake. It was a complete and utter mistake to think that EVs would be the majority of vehicles on the roads in the next 5 years. It was a major mistake for us to think that we'd have the correct infrastructure to have a majority of EVs on our roads, that we'd have EVs that would travel farther, because it continues to be the biggest problem for me is that these EVs don't go very far on a charge. That's a problem for me. I like to go. I'm not a fan of, sitting at a charging station. It's not a gas station. It's not the same. It's not, you find a quick stall, you jump it, you pump your gas. If you fill up the tank like I do, at the very most 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I've seen people talk about how they're charging their Teslas at the, at these, charging ports or whatever, taking 45 minutes, an hour, sitting there, waiting for your vehicle to charge. It's almost unacceptable. These EV vehicles right now are basically only built for you pretty much going home and going to work. They're not built truly for you for the long haul, unless you are prepared to set and lose 45 minutes to an hour of your life trying to charge the vehicle. And we know it takes longer than that. We know for a fact it takes longer than that. Most people have to set their vehicles on the charger overnight to make sure they're charged up to 85% in the morning. It's a major issue that the U.S. automakers all thought, and of course they had good reason to think this with all the EV incentives, all the people talking about how great EVs are. California stating that they're going to get rid of gas-powered vehicles and they're going to put only EV vehicles on the road. All these drove U.S. automakers to make this major decision to dump so much into EVs, so many factories, so many workers, and it didn't pay off. It backfired to the point where the only people who's suffering is the workers. I hate when people lose jobs. It's just a horrible thing. And we just have to figure it out. We can't, specifically for the auto industry. And I know, the layoffs are worldwide, company-wide, business-wide. Layoffs everywhere. Amazon, UPS, GM, Ford. All these places are laying off people. And it's going to be a major problem, guys. Specifically with the boom of AI. There's so many jobs that AI is already taken and are going to continue to take, causing to be less jobs available for people. So what we cannot do is continue to take the jobs that we've done for years away. Because if we take those jobs away, then the average man won't be able to survive. Alright guys, so last but not least, we're going to talk about a story where a father decided he was going to drink and drive, get into an accident, and then leave his poor child in the car as it burned. We're going to check out Motoring USA, one of my favorite YouTube platforms, and let's check it out.
Cover a lot of stories here on the channel, guys. Some pretty gruesome ones when it comes to hit and run incidents, when it comes to tragic incidents, people literally dying in car accidents. And this quite possibly is the worst one that I have covered so far. And as a dad as well, this really, really hurts me reading this. It really does. Because the father, an absolute coward, left his 2-year-old child to die in a burning car while he saved himself. When the police arrived, he told them that nobody was in the car, when in fact, his child was still there. Not to go too philosophical here, but when you're a parent, you always, 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 always put your children first. Whatever you do, do it for them. Do it for them. You got to protect them. That's like the minimum thing you can do, right? That is the basic thing that any parent, regardless of financial circumstances or whatever, you got to keep them safe. That's the bare minimum. This, honestly, let's get into it. A father in Ohio is heading to prison for leaving his 2-year-old daughter to die inside a burning car while he saved himself, with the police finding the child in a forward-facing car seat after the dad tried telling them that nobody was in the vehicle. Nicholas Stemmen, 34 years of age, was sentenced on Monday to a minimum of 22 years in prison and a maximum of 27 years and 6 months for the death of his daughter, Liliana, in September 2024, according to court records. Stemmen pleaded guilty in October to aggravated arson, involuntary manslaughter, and endangering a child. His indictment and arrest affidavit, which was obtained by Law and Crime, outlined how he was drunk off nearly a dozen beers, driving erratically before his 2013 GMC Terrain caught fire with Liliana in the back seat. After leaving the roadway, Stemmen's SUV, which was missing a tyre at the time, caught on fire after coming to a complete stop. The vehicle was fully engulfed in flames when Allen County Sheriff's deputies, called to the scene by another driver, arrived and found Stemmen attempting to stand near it, according to the affidavit. The affidavit said, quote, "Cops could smell an odour of an alcoholic beverage emitting from Stemmen's person, and he was unsteady on his feet, actually falling to the ground. After the American Township Fire Department had extinguished the fire, a battalion chief asked Stemmen who else was in the vehicle. Stemmen answered no one." End quote. Asked if he had any children, Stemmen answered that he has a daughter who was with her grandfather. One of the firefighters on scene was asked to look inside the vehicle, according to the affidavit, which said, quote, "Upon doing so, she observed a small body in a forward-facing car seat. She stated she could tell it was human due to seeing skin and blood on the thighs." End quote. Semen was taken into custody and questioned about what happened, with the drunk father telling detectives that he spent the night consuming at least 10 alcoholic beverages, namely beer, prior to and leading up to the incident.
So, I mean, so he was too drunk to even remember or realize that his daughter was in the car. He had been so drunk. And see, if he was, see, would that mean that he was, you know, consuming these alcoholic beverages while he was driving? Because to some degree, he would have had to be the person who put the, you know, the baby in the car. So was he drunk when he put the baby in the car? You know, there's a lot of reasons I hate, you know, drinking and driving. You know, a lot of reasons that I don't drink like I used to, and I'm not gonna lie and say I don't drink at all, but I don't drink. Honestly, I only drink when I'm in Indiana, which I'll be this coming weekend. But I would never get behind the wheel after I've had some drinks, and because I've seen so much of the damage it could cause. Not only from, you know, personal experience or friends that have been caught drinking and driving or anything like that, or when I was in the club days and seeing people drinking and driving, but as working in the collision center, I see multiple cars that you can tell that the person who was driving them, who was in some kind of crash that brought them to my facility, was drinking. I mean, it's not uncommon for us to find, you know, beer cans in the back seats or a case in the trunk of a car that's been in an accident. And I always wonder, you know, because the new rules, and I don't know if this is worldwide, but I know it's here in California, is that if you get into a accident, a fender bender, and you call the police, they don't even have to show up. The police will give you a police claim number, I think, and then they have you just take pictures and you just take care of the process. And the police, in a lot of cases, the police don't even show up. So, which bothers me to some degree, because these are car accidents, and it could be a situation where we've got a drunk driver who caused the accident, and that person probably need to be brought to some kind of justice. I just don't think that this man he definitely shouldn't have been in taking care of this child. I mean, I would hope to assume that whoever this child's mother was knew that this dude was a drunk, probably, you know, and I would have hoped that she was able to stop this, but of course she wasn't, because here we are. And you know, it's I complained the other day about how, you know, automakers are coming out with the technology to monitor you, to monitor your face, whereas, you know, to see if you're falling asleep or drunk or impaired in any way. And I didn't honestly like that. You know, I didn't like the idea that you got this camera just watching you all the time, which can be accessed by the automaker or any entity that you probably got a subscription to work this system. But at this moment, I'm going to say that this is the reason why they can make you buy this kind of equipment. This is the reason why they can put this in vehicles and have it there for, you know, automakers to just charge you more for these vehicles, because there's people out there in the world that are continuously drinking and driving. And it's still really, really common. I know, because I see the cars. And, you know, I will say that right now, just because of this, you know, maybe it is a good idea that these cars have the ability to tell if you've been impaired or any way, or if you're sleepy anyway, and have the ability to shut off so you don't cause an accident or cause the death of a young child. But I still don't like it, you know. I don't like the technology, and I'm probably going to do a story about it soon, but I don't like the technology that I don't like the fact that all these vehicles have all these cameras and they're monitoring you, and you know, I just personally I think it's just a prelude to Skynet. because they're watching us and learning us. All right, guys, I'm going to let y'all get up out of here kind of early today. Just a short show. I might not be as consistent next week. I will be out of town. I got a flight to catch tomorrow. And then, I continue to try to do some shorts and to, try to get a show out if I can. But if I do not, I will see you guys soon. I am Chris Surratt. Thank you for tuning in to the Car Concierge Show. Please hit the like, share, subscribe button. Hit me in the DMs if you have any questions. And I'm out. Peace.